Hi, it's Katrina. Number 9. Anunnaki aliens. Many conspiracy theorists believe that shape-shifting alien reptiles have infiltrated the human population with sinister plans to enslave us. These alleged ill-intending aliens are called the Anunnaki. They hide in plain sight, mingling with powerful politicians and other elite members of society. BBC sports reporter David Icke claims these Anunnaki, or the reptiles, have controlled humankind since ancient times. They count among their number Queen Elizabeth, George W. Bush, Henry Kissinger, Bill and Hillary Clinton, and Bob Hope. David further claims that the lizards are behind secret societies like the Freemasons and the Illuminati. Some even believe that the Anunnaki arrived on Earth around 200,000 years ago and created humans as a slave race to mine gold. According to the theory, they engineered our existence using their DNA, and they can activate bits and pieces of it to stop us from becoming as smart as them. The Anunnaki allegedly brought sophisticated technology here and passed it on to the people they created, making ancient societies more advanced than modern humans. But these ancient societies lost the technology at some point or another, and today's experts have only found scant remains of it. The Anunnaki were actually real, but not in the way you might think of them now. The Anunnaki were actually gods of the ancient Sumerians, Akkadians, Assyrians, and Babylonians. They believed that the Anunnaki passed judgment on the human race. They were heavenly beings that shaped the destiny of early society. In recent years, things have changed. There are rumors circulating online about the discovery of the intact body of an Anunnaki king. A team of workers in Iran reportedly found the unusually well-preserved remains while digging a foundation for a home, when they stumbled upon a mausoleum containing 3 coffins. Archaeologists allegedly determined that the site was part of a city dating back sometime between 10,000 and 12,000 years ago. But Iranian authorities dispute these claims and say that the remains are 850 years old. While the Anunnaki were actually very important ancient gods, for some reason, many people now believe they were much more than that. And the reason the Sumerians and Babylonians were so clever and advanced was because they had outside help. Number 8. Vatican Secret Archives. Recently renamed the Vatican Apostolic Archives, the Vatican Secret Archives contains millions of documents covering a 12th century time span, which were officially classified as secret until last year. The facility itself, which was established during the 16th century, hasn't operated secretly in quite some time, but it's also not open to just anyone. Vatican officials allow qualified researchers into the secret archives after a thorough vetting process. They have access to documents that aren't available to the public, including the Chinon parchment, which details the trial minutes against the Knights Templar and reveals that Pope Clement V absolved the group of heresy in 1308. The secret archives also house Pope Leo X's papal bull excommunicating Martin Luther, the founder of Protestantism, not Martin Luther King Jr. Martin Luther was famously excommunicated from the Catholic Church and caused quite the ruckus. It's home to countless other historical documents, which are kept in the facility's 53 miles of shelving and in its underground vault, known as the bunker. Over time, the secret archives are becoming less secretive. In recent years, the Vatican allowed journalists to take a tour for the first time, and the facility's recent name change to the Vatican Apostolic Archives reflects the Church's trying to increase its transparency. Number 7. Man in the Iron Mask. It's rare for someone to go down in history with no one knowing their real identity, but it has happened. Take, for example, the unidentified 17th century prisoner known as the Man in the Iron Mask. Authorities held him in various French prisons over a more than 30-year period after being arrested in 1669. The man wore a black velvet mask over his face until his dying day in 1703, leaving his identity a mystery. People have been trying to figure out who the man in the mask was since his imprisonment. Writer Alexander Dumas and the renowned philosopher Voltaire theorized he was the twin brother of Louis XIV, but scholars have since debunked this claim. Most modern-day experts agree that the prisoner's name was Eustache d'Alger, according to historian Paul Sonino. He was a valet, but it's unclear whose valet he was, and why officials kept him under such tight watch for over 30 years. After extensively examining historical records, Sonnino claimed in 2017 that Dozier was the valet for the treasure of a wealthy and high-ranking church official named Cardinal Mazarin. Evidence suggests that Mazarin may have accumulated some of his vast fortunes by swindling English royalty. Sonnino believes the treasurer caught on to Mazarin's dirty deeds and that Dozier slipped up and mentioned it to the wrong person, resulting in his lifelong imprisonment along with threats of execution if he ever disclosed his identity. Number 6. China's Spy Museum. The Jiangsu National Security Education Exhibition Hall, better known as China's Spy Museum, opened in 2009. Los Angeles Times special correspondent Violet Law described the site as a propaganda showcase featuring weapons disguised as lipstick and cigarettes, as well as listening devices and containers for concealing secret documents, such as hollowed-out coins. China has reportedly dedicated the Spy Museum's second floor to countries it perceives as security threats, including Japan, Taiwan, South Korea, and Vietnam. There is also a section devoted only to the U.S. Central Intelligence Agency, or the CIA. China's lawmakers have dedicated the museum's biggest display to groups who are domestic threats in China, including Tibetans, Uyghurs, and followers of the outlawed Falun Gong spiritual practice. The government allowed only Chinese citizens inside the Spy Museum until relatively recently. Shortly after its grand opening, a spokesperson announced the museum did not want to expose, in their words, such sensitive spy information to foreigners. What else do you think is on display there? Let me know in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Number 5. The Grand Grimoire. A grimoire is a magic textbook that contains instructions on how to create ritualistic objects and perform spells. One of the most disturbing medieval manuscripts is called the Grand Grimoire, also known as the Red Dragon or the Gospel of Satan. Rumored to be written in the 16th century, the writers dedicated the book to black magic, and it contained directions for summoning demons. Vatican authorities reportedly housed the original copy in the Vatican secret archives. For this reason, researchers can only trace the Grand Grimoire to the 19th century, when publishers created a new edition in France. According to legend, the authors wrote the original version in either Aramaic or Hebrew. Someone allegedly discovered it in 1750 in the Tomb of Solomon, although no one has ever verified the book's connection to the biblical king. Many believe that the Grand Grimoire is one of the most potent occult textbooks ever written. Someone named Honorius of Thebes, who experienced satanic possession firsthand, supposedly wrote it. The book contains 4 parts, including descriptions of demons, an account of how Satan corrupts newly elected popes over time, and instructions for summoning Lucifer himself. While some scholars believe the authors wrote the original Grand Grimoire during the 1800s, nobody has ever disproved the existence of an earlier copy being secretly tucked away at the Vatican. But the average person has no way of knowing, since we're not privy to that information. Number 4. Mount Athos. For over 1,000 years, Russian Orthodox monks have lived in the monasteries at Mount Athos in northeastern Greece, where the monks strictly banned women from visiting. Described by The Guardian as the spiritual capital of the Orthodox Christian world, the site houses 20 monasteries that house around 2,000 monks. Some monks even choose to live in solitude outside the monasteries. Monks spend most of their daily lives praying, similar to how the monks who arrived during the 9th century passed their time. Services run for as long as 6 hours, but the monks continue to pray even when they are working, eating, and engaging in other activities. They go about their day silently, meditating on their connection with God. Monks who choose a mostly isolated existence live in small communities called skeets. Those who want no contact with the outside world live in the cliffside skeet of Carulia, where individual cells sit hundreds of feet above the water. People in a nearby community deliver the monks food and other supplies to them in a basket on a pulley, ensuring the continuation of their preferred distance from the rest of humanity. The monks ban female humans and animals alike from stepping foot onto Mount Athos, and they don't allow women within 500 meters of the coast. Leaders implemented this policy to maintain celibacy among the monks. It's said that the Virgin Mary visited Mount Athos when her ship blew off course while en route to Cyprus, and that she prayed to Jesus to receive the site as her own. It's Mary alone who represents women at Mount Athos. Women have gone to Mount Athos before, despite the ban. When the site granted sanctuaries to peasant livestock during the Greek Civil War from 1946 to 1949, a group of marauding women invaded in pursuit of the flocks. Then, in 1953, a Greek woman named Maria Poimenidou went there dressed as a man, causing the country's government to legislate the ban against women at Mount Athos. And in 2008, Ukrainian human traffickers dropped 4 Moldovan women off there, and the monks forgave their presence because of the extenuating circumstances. If you want to visit Mount Athos and you're a man, you must submit your passports to the Mount Athos Pilgrims Bureau. You can stay there for about 3 days. Number 3. Taj Mahal Basement. Shah Jahan was the 5th Mughal Emperor of India. During his rule from 1628 to 1658, he brought the empire to its peak, ushering in the golden age of Mughal architecture with the commission of breathtaking monuments. His most famous building, the Taj Mahal, sits on a 42-acre plot in the modern-day Indian city of Agra. Workers built it in 1632 in honor of Shah Jahan's beloved wife Mumtaz, and is the couple's ultimate resting place. Officials keep their tombs in a locked chamber in the basement, and it's typically off-limits to visitors. There are 2 replica burials on public display on the building's first floor. Another theory proposes that Shah Jahan wanted to preserve the dead body of his wife, so he buried her according to the Unani techniques, as a mummy. A researcher named Armanul Haq, curator at the Museum of History, claimed that the Shah did indeed have her mummified. Visitors had a rare opportunity to see the real tombs firsthand on Shah Jahan's birthday in 2018. They were disappointed to find the burials in a deplorable state, blackened from years of neglect, and called on the government to restore them and make them accessible to the public. Allowing visitors to see the graves regularly would hold the authorities to higher standards to maintain them. Officials were cryptic in their response to the outrage, but this is nothing new. People have voiced many concerns about the Taj Mahal, only to be more or less stonewalled by the government. Many suspect that laborers built the monument on the site of a former Hindu temple, and that the basement contains Hindu artifacts and artwork. In 2019, Parliament member Subramanian Swamy claimed officials had these objects removed from the property years earlier. He also said that he had documentation proving that the Shah had the Taj Mahal built on stolen Hindu property. It's also believed that there may be 22 secret rooms beneath the building, but if they exist, only a privileged few know about them or what's inside, and these few are keeping quiet. Number 2. Superconducting Super Collider. Nicknamed the Desertron, the Superconducting Super Collider, or SSC, was supposed to be the world's biggest and most energetic particle accelerator. If this vision had ever materialized, the result would have been a massive structure measuring over 54 miles in circumference. But things didn't exactly go as planned. The project came to an abrupt halt just 2 years after construction began in 1991. By then, the project had cost over $2 billion, yet construction crews had built only 14 miles of the tunnel. During the planning stages, the designers of the structure estimated the total cost at around $4.4 billion. Investors began losing confidence in 1993, when projected costs skyrocketed to over $8 billion. A report by the Inspector General from the Department of Energy criticized the Super Collider's officials for poor management and high costs. Eager to see the project through, then President Bill Clinton tried to stop it from being canceled, but Congress went against his wishes and revoked federal funding, ending the plans for good. The property changed hands several times over the following years. In the meantime, officials flooded some tunnels to keep stability, while they locked up others and left them as is. The site soon became a hotspot for criminals, partygoers, and other trespassers. Today, the property is home to an oil field product manufacturer, and it's strictly off-limits to outsiders. The Super Collider could have been a legendary project had it not failed. The US has yet to advance the way it once did in the realm of physics. But worse than that, the once prominent field of efficient energy production in the US has stopped daring to dream big. No matter what the future holds for high-energy physics in the US and the rest of the world, the imposing creation that could have been the superconducting supercollider will not be forgotten. Number 1. Poveglia. In northern Italy's Venetian lagoon, less than a half-mile from Venice, Poveglia is a small island that first appeared on the historical record during the 5th century. It remained inhabited until 1379, when its residents fled warfare. Then, starting in 1776, the government used Poveglia as a quarantine station for plague victims and sufferers of other diseases before becoming a mental hospital in 1992. The island has been vacant since the insane asylum closed in 1968, despite efforts in recent years to lease it as a luxury vacation spot. Rumors claim that as much as half the soil on Poveglia contains human remains, left behind by over 160,000 sick people who died there. Archaeologists have found mass graves containing the remains of thousands of plague victims on nearby islands, but archaeologists have yet to investigate Poveglia itself. Why is that? According to legend, a doctor who worked at the mental hospital in Poveglia tortured and killed patients before butchering them. While these claims remain unsubstantiated, the remains of the hospital are still there, slowly being reclaimed by nature. Many paranormal enthusiasts believe ghosts haunt Poveglia, but the island currently remains off-limits to visitors, and there is no word on if or when it will open up to tourism. For now, those who are curious about the supernatural can visit the nearby island of San Servolo, where the remains of an insane asylum are preserved as a museum. Thanks for watching! Would you rather visit the Vatican secret archives or China's spy museum? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and be sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. See you next time! Bye!